بعد حمد ربنا والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا الأعظم محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أعزائي المشاهدين، من يطلع على أي شيء يعجبني ويشرفني اشتراككم في القناة لكي يصلكم الجديد ومحبة في سيدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. في هذا الفيديو يتحدث إليكم الدكتور سام بارنيا عن وجود حياة بعد الموت، وأن هذا يدحض شبه الملحدين والمنكرين لعذاب القبر حول قضية البعث وحول قضية عذاب القبر من نعيمه. هذا الدكتور سام بارنيا يؤكد ويضحض الفرض العلمي الذي يتشبث به الملحدون، وأنه لا حياة بعد الموت. يأتي إليهم الدكتور سام بارنيا ويقول لهم لا، الحياة بعد الموت موجودة، وهو يؤكد دعوى القرآن الكريم ودعوى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في نعيم القبر وعذابه. الدكتور سام بارنيا هو أستاذ بريطاني مشارك في الطب في مركز لندن الطبي بجامعة نيويورك، كما أنه يعمل مديرا للأبحاث في مجال انعاش القلب الرئوي في المملكة العربية في المملكة المتحدة بريطانيا، كما أنه مدير لمشروع الوعي البشري في جامعة ساوثهامبتون، كما أنه يعرف أيضا بعمله في تجارب الاقتراب من الموت والانعاش القلب الرئوي. نترككم وما يحدثكم به الدكتور سام بارنيا. قد ترجمت له ما يقوله بالنص حول الحياة بعد الموت. اسمعوا الفيديو ونترك لكل باحث عن الحق، سواء كان ملحدا أو غير مسلم أو على أي دين كان، هذا ما يؤكده العلم الحديث الذي تتشبثون به إن كنتم فعلا تؤمنون بالعلم الحديث.
The perennial questions that human beings like to ask is what happens when we die in terms of life after death. We all hope there is something, but work in studying the nature of consciousness during cardiac arrest, what some people would call near-death experiences, some would say cast doubt on the scientific assumption that life after death is impossible. Do you think that's right?
Well, of course, there are certain questions that have fascinated humankind forever, I think, really. One of them is what makes us who we are. And one of them is what happens when we die, because whether we like it or not, we're all on a trajectory. I'm the doctor who tries to prevent people from dying, and I know I'm going to die one day. I see myself one day being that patient with another doctor like myself taking care of me, knowing that the time has come to go. So it's an important question because we need to know what happens to us. I don't know about the first point you raised. My own perception is forever. Going through the science of it, we don't have all the answers today, but I think we've made enormous strides to answer the question of what happens when we die. We have to remember that when death is a process, okay, and just because a person has died and they've been given the time of death declared and essentially, called a corpse, the cells inside the person's body have not have not become so damaged that we can't bring them back. So as science has progressed, we are now able to manipulate those processes for hours after death and bring back a whole person and study their consciousness during that time, which was impossible until very recently, right? And so the incredible discovery through this is, one is that we can bring back people and send them home. We can really have the miracle of science, take someone who's dead and make them alive again, which is amazing. But the other amazing part of this, and this is why I'm so fascinated by this, is that we can study what people experience when they've gone beyond death. And the evidence so far suggests that that entity we call the human mind, consciousness, what the Greeks called the psyche that was later translated into the soul, the me, Sam, does not become annihilated just after a person has died, even if we write them a death note and certify them as being dead. That entity continues. And it continues even when the brain does not seem to be functioning, raising the question that consciousness may be a separate entity from the brain. It's not magical, it's just not discovered yet, but it doesn't die. Now, I can't tell you what happens 3 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours after a person's died. I can't tell you whether consciousness gradually fades away and disappears into thin air, as some people might believe, or does it continue for ever longer periods of time. Certainly, the bodily functions, bodily cells will die with time. There's no doubt about that. What happens to our real self-consciousness? is that, as I explained, it continues for a period of time. Now you have to make your own conclusions. I don't have evidence beyond that, which is one of two ways. One is that you may say, well, okay, I'm going to accept that consciousness may continue for a few hours after death in some format and gradually wither away. Or you may also argue that, well, if consciousness was able to continue when the brain was not functioning, why would it suddenly disappear away a few hours later? Because don't forget, even 10 minutes after you've died, even 30 seconds after you've died, your brain does not function anymore. Even when we do CPR, when we try to resuscitate someone, and we do all these things that people see on TV it looks magical. The reality of it, when we do this stuff, there's not enough blood that gets into the brain to enable the brain to function. Even during resuscitation, the brain remains flatlined. And so what happens? Well, certainly there is life after death for a period of time. Does it continue forever? I don't know. But certainly for a period of time afterwards, consciousness remains.
And so if it